Princess here, and welcome to another video during onesie month. I am wearing my unicorn onesie this time. I'll give you a quick view. Little wings, I've got a tail. I got this from Jules for my birthday years ago. Thank you, Jules. I love this onesie. So I thought that today I would do my top 10 anime, which I did a top 10 cartoons that I will link somewhere, probably in the end, and I felt like I should probably do a top 10 anime as well. Now this is going to be really hard because there's a bunch of new anime out that is amazing that I will talk about at the end. Right now I'm just going to talk about my current top 10 favourite. This changes for me, but these have been my top 10 for a long time. They're not in any particular order because I can't choose which is better than another, so I'm just gonna read them off in a random order, and I've got my my listography to help me remember. Number 1 is an anime called Shuffle. It was one of the first animes I ever watched all the way through. It's awesome. It's a harem anime, one main guy and a bunch of girls, and they exist in a world where you've got Earth, Heaven and Hell, basically, but everybody knows about it and it's totally fine, and it's just about them all discovering their powers and their abilities and everything, and they all fall in love with the main character, obviously. I just really like the way that it's done. I really like all of the characters. I love all the character development. In some respects it's very tropey, but I like it. Hello. Number 2 is Sailor Moon. The original Sailor Moon, not Sailor Moon Crystal. I actually haven't completed the whole thing. I've watched every single season and all of the movies except for a few episodes at the very end. In essence, I don't like things that end. I've got a pretty good idea what happens, but I haven't watched it yet. So I'm gonna. I just haven't done it yet. I love Sailor Moon. I love all the art in Sailor Moon. I love the aesthetic in Sailor Moon. Everything about it is just awesome. The main characters, I like them all. Again, they're very tropey, but they kind of made what they are, you know, the whole magical girl thing. It's like bam. If you like magical girl anime, Sailor Moon is an absolute must-see. It's at the foundation of most people's magical girl anime thing that they've got going. The only thing I guess I would say is that in the original Japanese anime, the main character, Usagi, her voice is really annoying, but I kind of got used to it, and I love it. It's absolutely one of my favourite animes. 3 is Akatsuki no Yona. Is so insane, it's so good. There are 2 seasons. I really hope there's going to be a season 3. It's not finished. It's set in like a mythical China back in the day, and Yona is a princess. And some serious shit happens, and it's about her journey to justice and getting people on her side. It's kind of war-y and politically, but it's so good, and it's kind of mythical. The music in it is amazing. The development is amazing. I can say that in the first episode, I was so gobsmacked watching it. I was so horrified and heartbroken that I needed to keep watching it to figure out what was going to happen. Yona is a reverse harem anime, so obviously there's her and then there's a bunch of guys. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but oh, it's so good, and I'm waiting on the new season. Please, please, please be a new season. Oh, sorry, I just had to go and make some mashed potato. Number 4 is Full Metal Alchemist. It's a classic, it's an older one, and I didn't want to watch it at first because I didn't like the art style, and that influences whether I will watch something a lot. And it's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood as well. I'm aware that there's 2, and Brotherhood is like a remake. I totally got over my feelings about the art style. I watched the whole series, cried many times, probably at bits that I shouldn't have cried at. People don't think that I should be sad at some of the bits that I'm sad at. I mean, there's the obvious bits, and then there's like envy. Like, I can't even think about it, it makes me so sad. It's about two brothers and a bunch of other people, and there's kind of a war going on. It's kind of reminiscent of like real world type stuff. But there's alchemy in it, and you learn alchemy and stuff, but you have to, the rules of alchemy, you know, you can't just take from anywhere, you've got to give a little too. It's a really deep storyline. It's got some awesome bad guys in it that are like the 7 deadly sins. I love the main characters. If you want an anime to get properly invested in that will take out a little chunk of your time, definitely watch Full Metal Alchemist, and expect, if you're like me, to cry on more than one occasion. It's really funny and it's really actiony, but there are some really powerful, heartfelt moments and some bits that I personally just found absolutely devastating. Number 5, the first vampire one of the list is Vampire Knight. I love vampires, you know this. I love vampire anime, but it's really hard to come by in a way that I like it. I like vampire stories from the perspective mostly of the vampires. I also like vampire stories where it's more boys than it is girls, if that makes sense. And Vampire Knight just does everything so perfectly. You got 2 main characters and 1 human girl. I love the music, the intro themes and the outro themes are all awesome. It's set in a high school and there's a night class and a day class, and you can imagine that the day class are the humans and the night class are the vampires, but nobody knows that the night class are vampires except for our main characters. Everyone else just thinks they're super attractive. Mingling between the 2 classes is pretty much forbidden, but the day class are always sneaking over to get pictures because they're so pretty. It's one of these classic love triangle type animes, but it's vampires and they work everything in really well, and yeah, it ticks a whole bunch of my vampire loving boxes. So if you're into vampires and reverse harem, watch Vampire Knight and Vampire Knight Guilty, which is the 2nd season. The ending is bullshit though. I'm not ruining it, that's just my opinion. I think the ending is bullshit. Number 6 is not new exactly, but newer, I guess, is Tokyo Ghoul. When Tokyo Ghoul first came out, the first thing I thought about it is, wow, I like the way that looks. I think it's drawn really nicely. It's just a style that I appreciate. It looks like it's got a lot of time paid to it. I've heard a lot of people say that it starts out good and gets bad if you've read the manga. I haven't read the manga, so my opinion is that it's awesome. There are 2 seasons, but it seems like it's not finished, so there needs to be more. I'm waiting on more. It is kind of like a vampire anime, but it's not. It's much more gory. So you live in a world where there's regular people and ghouls are kind of like conscious zombies, I guess. They eat other people and they can smell people and stuff. And your main character is living in both of those worlds at the same time and kind of struggling to cope. So you're kind of introduced to the ghoul side of the world and the human side of the world and the struggle to live between the 2. I think there are some amazing fight scenes. I'm really impressed with a bunch of the fight scenes, and I just really like the storyline. I like that they've gone with ghouls. I think that ghouls are really interesting, and the main character is badass. He starts out so nerdy and ends up so badass. It's Owari no Seraph, or Seraph of the End. Which, yes, is another vampire movie, and it's actually not directly from the vampire's perspective, it's from the human survivor's perspective. So this anime hooked me on the first episode because it was insane, and it was another one of those ones where I was just sitting there like, oh my god. So your very first episode, essentially an illness of some description, basically wipes out most of the human race, most of the adult human race, but the children seem to slip under the radar, and then the vampires enslave the rest of humanity like feeding bags, and your main character is one of the enslaved kids. And the first episode starts with them trying to plan their escape and whatnot. So it kind of goes from there. They've got really cool uniforms and really cool weapons, and it's kind of about the humans fighting the vampires, trying to take back their world. But the more integral story is about your main character and his best friend. Yeah, I can't really say any more about that. As you can imagine, the vampire queen is a little girl. They're always a little girl for some reason. But she's really cool and really sassy, and I like her. Main character's a bit of a dick at first, but you know, he starts to melt a little bit, you know, when you start to get to know him. There's not too much kind of lovey-dovey vampire romance type stuff. It's actually quite brutal, so it's one of these we hate each other, we're gonna fight each other until we're both dead kind of situations. Okay, I said I wasn't gonna do it, but the last two are gonna be animes that I'm currently watching that have just raced their way up to my favorites. Number 9, technically, is an anime that in English is called Kiss Him Not Me. I'm not sure what it is in Japanese, I can't remember it, but it's amazing! There's only 5 episodes out so far, and it's fantastic. It's so in touch with current day things, and it's so aware of itself. Your main character is a girl who is a chubby girl, and she's a total nerd. She's a total otaku as well, and her favourite character in her favourite anime dies, and she's so heartbroken and so depressed about it that she literally locks herself in a room for a week and doesn't leave and doesn't eat, and thus becomes skinny. So the whole premise of this, so far anyway, seems to be everybody adjusting to how attractive they find her now because she's skinny. And yes, I know that it sounds kind of offensive, but the thing is, she fluctuates between her weights. In fact, in the most recent episode, she actually just got super chubby again, and the boys are realizing that they actually love her. They just love her. It doesn't matter if she's skinny or not. Apart from it being, I think, quite a nice message, something a bit new maybe for anime. I love the way all the characters are written. They're so likable. The main character, the girl, is just awesome. She's not irritating at all in a lot of typical ways that I find anime girls irritating. The boy characters, a lot of them are total dicks to begin with, and then you start to see them more and you're like, oh, you're a cool guy actually, I like you. Her best friend is the best guy. He can't tell the difference between her changing because he doesn't care, and he's just like the nicest guy ever. I love that it's totally in touch with modern day themes. She's very aware that she's a nerd, that she likes anime. She's big into boy love, like massive into boy love, and the guys that like her kind of have to get used to that because she's not going to change. So they all want her to come on dates and stuff, but she has conventions to go to, and they either have to come to the convention or miss out. She doesn't need a boyfriend because she prefers watching boys be with other boys. That's all she needs, you know, that's what's important. And number 10 is another new anime that there's only, I think, 4 or 5 episodes out of that's just amazing, is Yuri on Ice.
Yes, we were born to make history. Born to make history.
It's an ice skating anime, so technically it's a sports anime, but it's quite boy love. I mean, I think it treads the line quite carefully, but it seems pretty straight out there boy love. Your main character is a young Japanese guy who's trying to be the champion for figure skating, but his confidence kind of wavers and he kind of fucks up. He quits, essentially, steps out the whole thing altogether, gets very depressed, puts on weight. It's about the famous Russian figure skater, he's like top of the game, quits everything to come and teach him. Don't really know why, he just decided to come and teach him, and they have a thing together. Like, this Russian guy is so into Yuri, it's awesome. And there's another kid who's also called Yuri, who's Russian, who wants to be coached by, his name's Victor. The main Russian guy, obviously his name is Victor. So the Russian Yuri wants to be tutored by Victor, but the Japanese Yuri also wants to be tutored by Victor, so he sets them against each other to compete, blah blah blah. So this anime is kind of a mixture between amazingly artsy skate scenes. Like they'd show you all of the figure skating, and it's so insanely drawn, it's beautiful, and the music that goes along with it is beautiful as well. I think a lot of actual figure skaters are quite appreciative of the detail that's gone into the movements. They even name all of their like kicks and flips and everything properly. So if you like sports anime but you're also kind of maybe into some kind of boy love, then Yuri on Ice. So that was my top 10 animes of the moment. It was kind of all over the place. I've probably forgotten a bunch and didn't include a bunch, but those are the ones that I'm thinking of right now. I will leave a list in the description below of what all the animes are called, so if you want to go and find them yourself, you can go and have a look. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, my top 10 anime list. Please let me know what kind of anime you're into, or if you have any suggestions for things that maybe I should watch and then I can talk about later, let me know. I'm interested. I'm terrible at finding my own anime, so please help me find some more that I might like. Until next time guys, please like, share, subscribe, comment, all that jazz, and I will see you next time. Love!